All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Nigel, of course, and this is going to be another System Shock Radio Redux episode. I haven't done one of these in a little while, but this one is going to be a Redux of episode 14. Now, the reason I'm doing a Redux for 14 is because it's actually split up into three parts on my not only here on Facebook but also on my YouTube channel. Why is that the case, you may ask? Well, because my Wi-Fi kept cutting out, and so I had to split up the video into multiple parts. Um, I, but I'm doing this Redux so it can be one whole, like, combined together part. Now, I thought about deleting the three parts of episode 14, but I've decided I'll give you all a choice here. Either you can watch this video where everything's like clumped together and everything, and it's all one video, or if you really do want to see if he all three parts of episode 14, if you don't mind it, then you have the option to do so in its terrible Wi-Fi quality. But without further ado, let's get into what we talked about for episode 14. So I actually started off by reading that riddle that I did. You may ask why I stopped doing riddles. Mainly because I ran out of interesting ones to tell. Oh man. Well, I like riddles that are like really good, that make you think, But I kind of ran out of those. But I'll tell you what, if you guys really want me to do riddles once again for System Shock Radio, please let me know in the comments. But the answer to the previous week's riddle was a father and his son are in a fatal car crash. The father is killed, but the son survives. He is rushed to the hospital, but the surgeon says, I can't operate on this child. He's my son. How is that possible? How is that possible? Did the dad turn into a ghost? No. Oh, the answer is that the surgeon was his mother. So, of course, as a parent, you probably wouldn't want to operate on your kid. Although honestly, if you think about it, if performing surgery on your kid, yeah, you'll be cutting them open and everything, but you'll possibly be saving their life. You definitely want to do it, right? But I don't know, but that was the answer to that week's riddle. Well, that previous week's riddle. But um, we're going to start off with a story, and this was kind of an embarrassing story. At the time, in hindsight, it's pretty funny. But this was the time I fell asleep on the train and was late to school. Almost any time I took the train in high school, I would fall asleep. Even don't know why. The seats, some would say, aren't that comfy, but I don't know. I'm just used to long rides. I fall asleep and everything, and I fell asleep like normal today, but this time I didn't wake up in time for my stop. I think what happened, because usually what happened was that I would go to sleep on the train, go all the way to my stop, and normally I'd wake up in time. And I was getting good at it. I was getting efficient, but I guess I got too cocky or something. But and this was freshman year, by the way, so that explains some of the actions here that you're gonna hear about in the story. But yeah, so I fell asleep, and when I actually got to my train stop, I actually fell back asleep. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I ended up falling back asleep, and I woke up a couple stops later. And when I woke up a couple stops later, I almost immediately started freaking out. I'm like, yo, I fell asleep. Oh, I missed my stop. Oh no, I'm gonna be late. Freshman year, I was definitely cared a lot more about my attendance. By the time I got to later years, I didn't really care as much. Which don't take the wrong way, kids. Attendance is important. Go to school. Oh, virtual or in person. Go to school. But so I fell asleep. I was late, and so I panicked. So what I did, I got off the train and waited for the next one to drive me back to my stop, and then I bum rushed it and got to school a couple minutes late. And thankfully, because at my school, which was Hutch Tech, normally they'd slap you with a detention for being late, which in hindsight is kind of harsh, but but thankfully I didn't get one. I guess they took pity on me, but yeah. So you know what I did after that? I kept sleeping on the train on the way to school. Oh, but thankfully it wasn't really that late anymore. But yeah, just a pretty funny story how I freaked out so much like back then. But you know, it showed I cared and that I was somewhat responsible. Oh, back then. But next we're going to talk about Trapped in the Closet. So, Trapped in the Closet is a multiple part series by R. Kelly, who I've talked about now on System Shock Radio. Back at that time, I hadn't yet done my R. Kelly crime analysis video, but I now have talked about R. Kelly, so I guess I can look at this from an even fresher pair of eyes. But the Trapped in the Closet stuff, it sucks that it can't be held in a good light because of who was behind it, because it's actually pretty good. I remember when I watched Trapped in the Closet on YouTube, and it was pretty entertaining. It was pretty engrossing and everything, and it was a pretty good narrative. All these twists and turns, it's all ridiculous and stuff. Sometimes it got a little too ridiculous. How, for example, how one of the couples, she was cheating on her husband, and she had an affair with a midget. I think by a certain point, R. Kelly was just trying to think of like, okay, how ridiculous can I make this narrative, but and get away with it. But it was memorable because it was pretty funny, but it was also some pretty entertaining stuff, and it showed that R. Kelly wasn't just as a singer, but he was a storyteller, and of course, everything was sung by him, even when he bleeped stuff out, which I thought was pretty funny. But some of the stuff in there was pretty cool. For example, they had some like dramatic music that would shift up the tone a little bit. And there was a lot of crazy twists and turns, like I mentioned, of course, such as the aforementioned midget, or how he had an affair. Or R. Kelly's character Sylvester, which, yeah, fun fact, is R. Kelly's middle name, and how he had an affair, but then his wife had an affair, and then he got mad at his wife for having an affair. Like, you had an affair too, man. What you mad at me for? You had one too, and that's pretty much the gist of what she said in her rebuttal. Her character, Sylvester's wife's character, her Gwen. But yeah, so pretty funny, pretty interesting stuff. And again, it can't be glorified as much knowing what R. Kelly did, um, and how he's tied to that. And some people have said that they try to separate the art from the artist, but sometimes, in some cases, you can't always do that, unfortunately. But next up, we're going to talk about Spider-Man and his interesting villains. For those of you who don't know, I am a absolutely huge fan of Spider-Man. Always have been since I was a little kid. Movies, video games, TV shows, all that. Love Spider-Man and his villains, and perhaps some of the greatest cast of villains out there. Spider-Man has had several villains. A lot of them have even teamed up. Of course, the Sinister Six and everything. But the thing about Spider-Man's villains that were always pretty cool to me, even back then, versus like right now, even, is that Spider-Man's villains, for starters, most of them are bigger than him, and I think that fits the David Goliath narrative that Spider-Man has almost always had. Is that Spider-Man he's somewhat muscular, but he's still very small. He has to use his quickness, his agility, his craftiness to beat down the bad guys. And it shows with the villains as well. A lot of them are like bigger than him, and probably physically are stronger than him. Although Spider-Man's no slouch himself, he has the degree of strength, of like super strength. Of course, he has the proportional strength of a spider, but But a lot of his villains, like I said, pretty much bigger than him. There's Rhino, there's Kingpin, there's Kraven the Hunter, there's Venom. But to see these villains that he faces, most of them being bigger than him, is pretty cool. And like I said, it fits that David Goliath narrative. But then also, a lot of his villains are ridiculous, but like cool still. Like they're ridiculous, but they're still like absolutely awesome, and like somewhat vicious. Of course, there's Doctor Octavius, aka Doctor Octopus. He has tentacle arms, but he's still a master supervillain. There's the Green Goblin, of course, my favorite Spider-Man villain, where he's like he looks ridiculous, but he's like an absolute psycho, and he's Peter's best friend's dad, at which is a double twist. Is of course, there's not only are you someone's dad, but you're my best friend's dad, and I know you. And then there's of course, Venom, the symbiote. There's Kraven the Hunter, who has the fursuit. Not fursuit, at least just the fur coat. Sometimes he has the fursuit, but nevertheless, getting a little sidetracked. They're all like varying degrees of ridiculous, but they're all so cool. Even Mysterio with like the fishbowl helmet and everything. And so to see how they're still kind of wacky, but still pretty awesome. To me, I've always loved, and they're definitely very colorful and very expressive, where they fit into that like kid area for kids my age to hate, like boo, oh, boo, you do bad things to Spider-Man, boo, but they're still pretty menacing, and even for adults to where they appreciate it as well, and bridging that gap between the kids and the adults where they both can enjoy it, I think really pays off well. But without, but we are going to move on to the final topic, and that is why is family so important? Now, how and sorry if you hear background noise, I apologize. But thinking about family, not all family is blood, and not all blood is family. And the thing is, sometimes you do have family members that have done you wrong, who have turned on you and stuff like that, and they're supposed to be like blood related to you. Blood runs thicker than water, but only sometimes. But then you have people who aren't related to you, who are a lot closer to you, who and everything, and who you pretty much see as family because you're so close. And the thing about family, whether they are blood or not, is that family is gonna have your back. Like they are going to have your back. They're gonna cheer you on. They're gonna be your biggest supporters. They'll correct you when you're wrong. They'll help you up when you're down and everything. And family and friends and having that good support network, which I talked about a couple weeks ago, having that support network in your corner to help you out, is a fantastic thing, and it's awesome to see from so many people, especially the people who you aren't blood related to, who your aunts and uncles, your brothers and sisters who aren't blood but are still your family, and family is everything. No, I don't watch the Fast and Furious, but I do know that meme. But it's true. Family does seem like everything a lot of times. It seems like I said, they're your biggest supporters, and they're always going to cheer you on. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching in this Redux episode, and I might as well read I might as well read what would have been next week's riddle. Well, in this time zone, apparently, I came up with these topics on April 18th, or at the very least, I read them at April 18th, on April 18th of 2020. So, right during the opening stages of COVID. So, yay. But it's how do you make 6 an odd number? So, how do you make 6 an odd number? I think the answer to that one was that you add the I in front of it so that it becomes 9. So, IX. So, Oh, 6 in Roman numerals is xi. You flip around the I, it becomes ix, which is 9. But nevertheless, thank you for watching this Redux episode, and I will see you guys later. And like I said, of course, you have the option to watch either this Redux episode of episode 14, or you can watch the original episode 14 in all 3 parts. Or it's whichever you prefer, whichever you want to watch is totally up to you. So both will be available to do. But thanks for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace.